And for more reaction, RT contributor and investigative journalist Wayne Matson is here. Good to see you, Wayne. So I have here the top 5 revelations from all of this, in no particular order. Number 1, how the U.S. sees the world. They're talking about, the diplomats bashing everybody from French President Nicolas Sarkozy to Medvedev to Kim Jong-il to Ahmadinejad. Number 2, U.S. diplomats ordered to spy on UN. Number 3, China hacked Google, U.S. and Dalai Lama. Number 4, Arab allies asked U.S. to attack Iran. And the last one, U.S. seeking to remove uranium from Pakistan. Which one of these 5, or perhaps there was something else, really stuck out at you?
Well, I would say that none of these are really news. The U.S. has spied on the UN before. They did it in the lead up to the Iraq War. They spied on the UN Security Council as far as
Kofi Annan's conversation.
Right, and we know that the Gulf states and Saudi Arabia have been itching to go after Iran. It's just that this proves a lot of things that have already been surmised or speculated on in the popular media. What I think is interesting is a lot of countries take hits, but one country, and they're even saying this themselves, is Israel. Now, my sources in the UN and from some of the countries that have not made to be they're not looking very good, are calling this the Wiki Israel leaks. Netanyahu, the worst thing they say about Netanyahu, he's a very charming person, but he doesn't keep his promises. We have Meir Dagan, the head of Mossad, telling a visiting U.S. Senator, John Corzine, the U.S. and Israel agree with Iran, that there should be an attack. We have Speigel now reporting that the national security advisors to ex-Prime Minister Sharon and Olmert said this is Israel benefits from these leaks. This is good for Israel. We have Netanyahu himself saying Israel is not harmed by any of these revelations. Who is harmed? The Arab countries are harmed. Iran is definitely harmed. Turkey, which has had an adversarial relationship with Israel, is harmed because we have some of the leaks stating that Erdogan hates Israel and that the U.S. Ambassador James Jeffrey in Ankara agreed with the Israeli ambassador in Ankara, Gabi Levy. So we have a lot of these documents, and it looks like they may have been cherry-picked. We don't have the cables from Bogota, Colombia out yet. We don't have the ones from Kathmandu, Nepal out yet. It seems to be very focused on Russia, Iran, Turkey, China, to name but a few, and Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, who Sarkozy's guy said, oh, he's crazy and he's turning his country into Zimbabwe.
Well, let's think about those countries that may be harmed, because when we think about the Iran issue, and these Arab states, there has always been a disconnect between what the leaders of a lot of these Arab countries say publicly and, their actions and what they're thinking, especially when it comes to not only Iran, but also the Palestinian issue. Mm-hmm. So what kind of reaction could we see, from their own populations? Because let's not forget, Iran here commenting on this said that this was the U.S. government releasing all this information.
Well, Ahmadinejad is calling it a psychological warfare operation, which it may be. Again, these are digital documents. We don't know if they've been altered, cherry-picked. It's hard. When you have a piece of paper, you can tell, like with the UN oil for food documents that were retrieved out of Baghdad, we could tell that there had been some alterations with liquid paper, for example. With a digital document, it's not that easy. I think there is probably some validity to the fact that at the very least, these documents were cherry-picked carefully to concentrate on Iran, China, Batman and Robin. Well, that's the question. The New York Times is now reporting that they did not receive these cables directly from WikiLeaks, that they received them from an anonymous intermediary. It'd be interesting to find out from the editor at the New York Times who that anonymous intermediary is. This story's not going away. I think the State Department would love to say some of these have been altered, but they don't want to go down that road because then, well, why these particular documents? They've got enough on their hands right now without bringing more attention on this.
They just have their, one line that says, this will harm people and, yeah, sort of condemning this. But very briefly, at the same time, though, if we think about the reaction from the Obama administration, they can also sort of point the finger and say, hey, look, we are pressured to take action against Iran, military action, but like we promised, we are taking the diplomatic approach. We're trying to negotiate. We're trying to, go the route of sanctions.
But yeah, and with these revelations, it looks like the U.S., there's not much sunlight between the U.S. policy and that of Israel. We've got that from the head of Mossad, Dagan. We've got it from various other Israeli officials coming out as cables leaked from the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv. That makes it much more difficult for the U.S. to negotiate in any sort of arrangement with the EU and Russia and Iran right now, because all this stuff is on the table.
And like you said, the story is not going away. RT contributor Wayne Madsen, thanks for your time.